All right, what's going on with y'all? It's Jay Myrex of Altruwest.com. Back again. And yeah, of course, some of y'all have saw my last video. Some of y'all saw my video discussing my transition from Native Instruments. And I appreciate all the feedback, all the kind words, and just the support in general that you guys have been giving me. I really appreciate it. It's been amazing to see how many producers I've impacted in my tenure at Native. So I really appreciate y'all, and I can't thank you guys enough for just the feedback you provided. So yeah, I just wanted to tap in with you guys for a little bit. As you can probably tell, I probably will have a little bit more time to get on here these days. I'm still working at Native until the end of this month. So even though you see me posting more, I'm still doing a lot of things to transition off of the position that I'm in right now. So not completely free yet as far as that's concerned, but yeah, definitely will be doing more video content and doing other things in the near future. Byron Brand, what's going on with you? Thanks for tapping in with your boy. And yeah, as always, let me know. Listen, please let me know if there's something going on with the audio stream. Like, this is kind of, for me, this is the early days of this particular setup here as far as the streaming is concerned. So if you hear anything, an echo, some line hum, anything, please just let me know so I can fix it, so I don't go the whole stream with the audio not sounding right. Cause I try to test it, but things kind of go wonky sometimes as soon as I get on, especially. So just let me know. All right. But yeah, I appreciate y'all. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. If the video looks good, let me know. And yeah, I'm here to chop it up with y'all. Let's see here. Cool. Cool. Appreciate y'all that's joined in. But yeah, some of y'all might be curious about like what's going on in my studio now. Um, Tariq Ali, what's going on with you, bro? What's going on with you? Thanks for joining. That's one of the cool things, I guess, about me being in the on Central Time now, is that I can do things a little bit earlier. Because when I was on West Coast time, I know if I started at 7, it's already 10 for y'all on the East Coast, and it'd be like, golly, I don't even want to join in now. I got to get ready for work myself. So yeah, not so good. What's going on with you? Rocco, what's going on with you? Willy Wonka, what's good? Yes, sir. Yeah. So yeah, I did get the MPC X. Shout out to my dude, my bro, EA Ski, who got me set up with the MPC X SE. Yeah. We'll talk about that, but yeah, definitely shout out to my dude EA Ski. If you guys aren't subscribed to his channel, you should be. He's doing live streams and producing video content on this platform, and he brings a lot of value and a lot of wisdom. And he's a person that you guys should be following and learning some information about music production from. So if you haven't subscribed to him, go ahead and subscribe to him, EA Ski. But yeah, interestingly enough, I know my boy EA Ski had some words to say about the MPC X SE a while ago, and it was very controversial. And we talked about that in the early days as well. And I think a lot of what he was saying got misconstrued as being hate on Akai as opposed to like a very constructive criticism, and just really just expressing a high expectation around what a modern MPC should be for a professional. So I don't, me and him talked about it before, and it was very clear he's not a hater. I'm not a hater of MPCs either. It is what it is. I like tools that work and do things for me that bring value. But it's okay to have criticisms and, wish that things were better for you, especially if you use it professionally. And even if you don't use it professionally, even if you just use it from a perspective of, it being a tool that you communicate your ideas and that you have a connection with, you may want it to perform a certain way and sound a certain way, especially as a sound person. You may want it to sound a certain way. So there was a lot of early discussion about whether the MPC was living up to the reputation of sound, especially when they released the SE. So I'm not going to rehash that, but I think it's interesting, just the fact that I was able to, work with EA Ski and get the SE, and all that time people were like, oh, he's being a hater. I know you guys have probably moved on from that, but yeah, it was kind of interesting and ironic to me. Byron Brand says, I'm using the MPC Live, MPC X SE I want, but pricey. Yeah, definitely a pricey unit. Yeah, definitely a pricey unit. So I think it got to make sense for you to spend that kind of money. And that was really like one of the big points with EA Ski, especially, was like, when we were talking about it, it was like, yeah, for that price, it got to perform. It's got to do things that you want it to do. Now, I haven't used it yet. I just got it today. So like my opinions and thoughts on it are going to be very limited because I haven't really like taken it through his courses and put it through his paces and all that stuff. But I will be cooking up with it. Maybe not today. I still need to like really kind of decide on my my routing strategy with it and figure out what type of integration I want to have with this in the studio, because it's an MPC, but it's it's also a production center, and I have to decide some things about like routing. Like, do I want to have all my MIDI set up routed to it, or do I want to have some aspects of my MIDI and then maybe more so focus on audio into it? And I gotta do some cabling and some routing. So over the next few days, I will be doing that, making some decisions. I may test a couple things, make some beats, try to kind of get a feel for like how I would ideally want to use it. Because the reality is right now, I got the MPC X. Interestingly enough, I got it because I wanted redundancy, and that's what I'm gonna talk a little bit about that from the perspective of MPCs, just so that you can kind of get a perspective of why I got it. So most of you guys know I have an MPC 4000 as well, and I've owned it for this particular MPC 4000. I've owned for about 9 years now. Love it. It's an amazing machine. It is. What is it? It's probably my third MPC 4000. I've had them and I've sold them. I've had them. This is the longest period that I've had this MPC 4000. One of my favorite MPCs of all time. What worries me about having a MPC? So the Okay, so my stream is a little bit janky right now. Let me see if I can change the settings, because it's not acting right now. Hold on. Yeah. Let's try a lower rate here. Yeah, let's go there. Yeah, streaming is a little bit janky right now. But yeah, back to the topic at hand. So 20, let's see, 22-year-old product. Okay, so if I'm using it daily, it worries me. Worries me a lot because the scenario here is this. You're turning on, and my MPC 4000 still has a mechanical drive. Now you can say, well, you can replace the mechanical drive. You can put like something else in there, solid state, whatever. Cool, I can do that. Other issues, just general wear and tear, the buttons, the pots and tack switches and everything else. Lots of wear and tear on that if you use it daily, if you want to use it frequently. I don't even use it daily. I use a lot of software as well. Use Logic a lot. I don't use the MPC 4000 daily, but I use it enough to concern me. I use it enough to think about, okay, what happens if my tack switches go out, and do I need to go replace the entire circuit board on the inside? And even more so now, it's a concern. It was always a concern for me, but now that I'm in Texas, it's even more of a concern for me. Because the reason it wasn't as much of a concern for me was because I literally could drive for like 15, 20 minutes and be at Bruce Forat's office and be like, hey, Forat, what's going on? Dropping this off. Can you fix it? That is not an option at this point, not from Texas. I mean, yes, I have a hard case. I can pack it up and send it back over to Forat, but that's a hassle. That's a hassle for sure. And I don't want to put myself in a position where if I had to do that, I would have complete downtime on the MPC at that point if I had to do that. So that's where the idea of redundancy comes in. And that is why I decided to go with the X for redundancy. Now, obviously, you could say it's not the exact same thing having a 4000 versus an X. But as far as like overall functionality is concerned, being able to run 4 MIDI outs to various MIDI devices in my studio, 2 MIDI in, so being able to run, 2 MIDI inputs or keyboards or whatever I need to use to control the device, the inputs and outputs on the audio side, having all of that. The X is the closest replacement for the 4000. Obviously, we're not going to talk about whether it sounds the same because we know it doesn't sound exactly the same. So I'm not going to say that it's a replacement one-to-one, but it is a good alternative in this particular setup. So that is why I got the MPC X SE. It is a redundancy measure. Now, I am interested in using some of the features and the workflow and the functionality. Don't get it twisted. Like, there are some really cool things that the MPC X SE does that I'm interested in. But realistically, I had some of those same features with the MPC One, which I still have. Now, my wife is currently playing with the MPC One, so it's not in the lab here, but I still have it. So if I need to use it, if I need to travel or something like that, I got the One still. But yeah, mainly the goal for me was redundancy. So not so much like, hey, like, so I've seen what some of you guys have said already, especially on my last video where I was talking about, leaving NI, and you guys are like, man, was the 3.0 that bad? Was the 3.0 that bad? Like, bruh, 3.0, that's a whole different topic. We can get into that, but that's not the reason that I've migrated or like gotten this MPC X at all. It has nothing to do with Maschine 3.0. I think those are two different things. Maschine never did the things in my studio that the MPC does on the MIDI side. The reality of it is the Maschine always lacked MIDI implementation. So that was one of the main reasons whenever I would do videos and you would see me doing a lot of MIDI and using a lot of hardware, normally it was with an MPC because just the MPC MIDI implementation is just better. Being able to send things like program change and bank change from the hardware, and just the way that the MIDI setup is, having built-in MIDI outputs, for MIDI outputs, especially on the larger MPCs like the 4000, 5000, X, etc. That is the reason that I would use the MPCs when I want to go in that direction. If I wasn't working like that, the Maschine works fine, and it actually, I like using Maschine when I was working with VSTs more, especially with Native Instruments, instruments like things from Complete. So that's kind of the difference, and that's what kind of determines whether I would use one or the others, really depending on whether I wanted to go MIDI or go more virtual instruments. When I do video content, I tend to like to do more MIDI. That's the reality of it. It's not that my computer is incapable of doing virtual instruments plus video recording and streaming and whatnot. It's not that it's like that at all, actually. But I do find myself just feeling a bit more free to do whatever I want when I'm running MIDI and making video content. I don't have to worry about like any types of hiccups or any potential audio drops or anything like that. Because, when you're running things off the computer, things can go wrong. Even during this stream, like I had some packets drop in. There was some glitching happening. I had to change the bit rate so that the stream is more reliable. So these are the types of things that you kind of have to manage when you're making beats on a computer, especially if you're making beats on a computer plus you're doing some type of video content at the same time. So this MPC X is about redundancy in the end. So I love the MPC. I love, I love different drum machines for different reasons. Ultimately, that's kind of the bottom line here. I'm gonna get back to the chat though. I know you guys wanted to hear more about like why I'm using or why I got the MPC X. So that's why I got the MPC X. Let's see here. Don Gordy said, "What's good? EXK told me about you. That's what's up. I appreciate that. Thanks for dropping by. Hopefully you stick around. Hopefully you can, vibe more with this community here as well." Let's see. P-Town, CA, the Bay. What's up? I know you're going to cook with that for sure. Definitely. Rainmaker says, "Are you going to use 3.0 or 2.15? I'm still on 2.15 because it reminds me of the older one I had back in the day, years back. Probably I'm going to stay with 2.15 for now and then eventually move up to 3. I just want to kind of understand where it is and how it feels with that first. And I'm more familiar with that OS because I have the one as well. So I'm going to start there. Jack Bauer says, "For the amount of time it took, yes, Maschine is a complete disappointment." We can get into that. But yeah, I did cover that in my last stream. I agree with you guys. That part is disappointing. I think there should have been a lot more added to Maschine 3.0. I don't make that call in the end. I definitely voiced a lot of the same concerns that a lot of you guys did. So it's not that it's unknown that people are disappointed, but there's a lot more to that business than just like feature requests in the end. And I respect that as well. And there were certain decisions made on that hardware that were, much more complicated than just like, hey, we just want it to work better than the MPC. There, I think as a business, I understand different decisions have to be made, and it also had to fit with their overall portfolio and their strategy. So there's a lot of things that didn't happen with that product in the end. It is disappointing to see. I think Maschine still works and can make incredible music. You can make incredible music with it. Some of you guys came from EA Ski channel. EA Ski told you about some stuff that I did for Locksmith. The stuff that I did for Locksmith was done on Maschine. You can definitely use Maschine. That was Maschine way back. So, that was before we was at 2.8, 2.9, whatever. That was well before that, and definitely well before 3. So can you make music with where Maschine is now? Absolutely. That should not hold anybody back. But I understand still wanting to have the best features and the best drum machine out on the market. That's just, that's human nature. So that I don't fault anybody, and I don't feel any certain way by anybody saying like I'm disappointed, because you have every right to be disappointed after 10 years. Let's see here. Butter, what's going on with you, bro? What's going on? Thanks for dropping by. Legendary West Side Connection producer, Butter. Listen, I use primarily Logic still. I think, let's see, probably like if I'm not like on camera doing like a stream or doing some type of video content, 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna reach for a Logic first, especially if I'm working on a project where I have to do a lot of revisions and things of that nature. I'm just gonna go on Logic, because especially you start getting into revisions, having it on hardware can be working backwards. In a lot of cases, that can be working backwards. If you have a brief, somebody says, hey, I need a beat like this. It needs to be this long. It needs to have this tempo. It needs to do this, this, and that. And we need you to do this, and we need it by this date. And then we send they send you references or whatever. And then it's like, okay, you're off to the races. Cool. Now you got to start working. I am not starting on hardware. Absolutely not. I'm going to start in software. That's just a smarter way to work, because if you send something and they say, okay, love it, but can you do X, Y, Z? Can you bump this up? Can you change the key of this? Or can you, all that kind of stuff? It's just easier to do in software. That's just the world we live in. People want to do a lot of revisions these days, and people want to have a bit more control. Everything is not just like hyper committal, especially when you're getting briefs and things of that nature. So I've definitely done my share of like audio demos and, music cues and things of that nature. You have to be flexible. So I'm going to use Logic. Now, if I want to creatively like freestyle or like do other things that help me to get inspired, I'm gonna turn on the hardware. Hardware is more freeing for me when I just want to like freestyle and like really get into the mode of like getting creative with music and play with different routings and whatnot. That's why I love hardware, because, routing, sound routing and being able to route to different instruments and different MIDI configurations, all that stuff gets me excited and inspired in different ways, and I create different sounds and different grooves, and a lot of times just different ideas come from the hardware side. So that's what I use that for, is to get inspired, especially by routing and different signal flows and whatnot. So yeah, I'm hybrid at the end of the day. Like even if I am in Logic, I'm still gonna run audio. I'm still gonna run hardware synthesizers into Logic too, if I'm not finding what I need in my favorite VSTs or whatnot. So it's a hybrid setup in the end. Like I'm not like all hardware, nor am I all software. So, Boss Beast says, I don't have a problem with MIDI and Maschine. I use tons of controllers and expression controller. Only thing is it doesn't have yet direct MIDI CC assign if it's not part of the plugin. So that's good to hear that you don't have issues with the MIDI. I think for me, my use case might be a little different. One of the things that I found difficult with Maschine on the MIDI side is the lack of aftertouch. I do have quite a few instruments in the studio that have aftertouch, and the fact is the Maschine was not transmitting aftertouch, so therefore it just became hard to use in that environment. Similarly, like things like program change, bake change, that stuff is not readily available on the Maschine. So in that scenario, I'm not using Maschine MIDI. I think Maschine is great for just like recording MIDI, but realistically, I think it shines more when I'm using MIDI VST instruments. Gigahertz, peace. I see the MPC X SE laying in the cut. Yes, indeed. Catchy Noise Production, what's going on? Yo, man, I've been following you for a long time. I love what you do and can't wait to see what's in the cards for the future for you. I'm sorry, what's in the cards for you. Salute. Appreciate you, bro. I really appreciate you. I appreciate you a lot, man. I appreciate all y'all that have been tapping in with me. The outpouring from my video announcement, it's been amazing. I really appreciate y'all. I appreciate all the support, and I'm excited for the future. I'm excited to see what else we can do in the future. And I'm definitely going to keep you guys involved and engage with you guys and let you know what the next thing is. So yeah, really appreciate y'all. Room at the Top Studio. Bless up, King. Great to see you back. Thank you, fam. Appreciate you. Let's see. The old Maschine was okay. I don't know when the OS changed, but it stopped working the way I used to use it, so I stopped using it. Got you. Deliv Knox was good with you, bro. Thank you for joining. Thank you for tapping in. That's my dude, Deliv. I appreciate you, man. Ventura, California, Oxnard, I believe. Yeah, was good with you, bro. Daniel Steele, what's going on with you, bro? Appreciate you. That's the MSX fam. Appreciate you dropping by. Definitely. Thank you for the welcome to Texas. Been here for a few months, enjoying myself, having a good time with family, and it's a good time. Hey, Banks, was good with you? Not so good. So you're mad that you got fired from Native Instruments and went out and bought an MPC X to get back at them. LOL. Yeah, I got jokes, man. Man. No, I didn't get fired from Native. Just I know he's joking, but I just want to clear that up. I didn't get fired from Native. Been there for 15 years. Probably could have stayed there a lot longer if I wanted to. It just is a situation where I needed to make some decisions about like my next steps and, where things are going. And just, after 15 years, it's very clear when things are not going in a direction that you would like to go in. So, I just made a decision that it was time to move on. There's no ill will. I didn't get fired. It wasn't anything where, I felt disrespected or anything like that. I mean, yes, there's some disappointment. I think that just comes with especially if you have a long relationship and things are not going the way you want, you can have the talk, and if it continues to go, unlike a marriage, this is not a marriage. This is a job. I don't have any vows that I'm upholding. It's not a covenant. It is a job. So because it is not a covenant, it is a job. I made a decision that I want to go and look into other things and work on other thoughts and ideas. So that's where I am. So didn't get fired. In respect to everybody at Native Instruments, I appreciate everybody at Native Instruments, and had an amazing run, 15-year run at Native Instruments. So, I know a lot of people can't say that, and it's a blessing to be able to say that. So, yeah, I appreciate everybody that's also contributed to that along the way. So, more to come for sure. Let's see here. Jers Boy. Oh, what's good, Jers Boy? Yeah. Can you let people know about the original motif gems? Of course. I actually never owned the original motif. That's a funny thing. I used it. Definitely been in plenty of studios with it, but I never owned that one. Like, my first motif was actually the ES. The original motif is cool, but yeah, once they did the ES and the ES to the XF, basically, yeah, all of those are awesome. ES, what is it? The XS and the XF, all dope machines. Where they are now with the stuff, I don't know. Like, I wish they would get back into making studio gear, because right now it's kind of like music director gear and worship leader gear. It's not necessarily like music studio gear. But yeah, that's their, again, that's the type of politics that happen, like when you have a company in music tech, and you start to look at certain key metrics and what drives the business, and you make a decision. You say, are the music producer studio users driving business today, or are the worship leaders and music directors driving the business today? And if it's the latter, then you make a decision to pivot and make sure that the core audience that's driving your business is served, and not just like maybe some outliers, or even just, not trying to hold on to what the past and what used to be the case in the past. Because there was a time when the motif was just like in every studio. It was like one of the key keyboards that everybody had in the studio, and it was a key sound source that studio music producers were using. It's just not that way anymore, and it hasn't been that way for some time. Could they get back on top? I don't know. It's hard to say. I think just the game has changed. A lot has changed. There's people that want a new motif with all the, motif functionalities and plus some modern functionality, but I just don't know that there's enough people to justify the business. I can't answer that question, and it's not my business to do so. But I know just from experience working at, NI, that's the type of decision making you have to make. So it's tough. Ray says, used to do drum kit demos and reviews. I get what you mean. Yes. So when I was consulting for Yamaha back in the day, I used to do like I did the demo, like built-in demos for the Motif ES rack. Want to say the Motif, what is it, the Mo series? Because they had those Mo keyboards. I did some demos, internal demos for that, and I think I got one in, I want to say, the XS as well. So I used to do demos, built-in demos, like hip hop demos for Yamaha back in that day. Also used to like not review like drum kits, but I used to review, like, I used to give them like consultations. So I would write like reports and things of that nature on the state of their keyboards and like the functions and features and the pros and cons, and, do comparative analysis and things like that. I used to do that for them. And I've also done some drum kits and some drum sound design for them way back in the day. So like there's definitely some keyboards that have drum sounds from me as well. A lot of them actually. So, that's where I got my start with the world of music tech and sound design, is with Yamaha. Yes, sir. Jonathan Gooch, appreciate you. Um, let's see who else up in here. Um, Zodi the Ghost. I'm in Houston. I'm in the Houston area, Harris County. Yeah. Masada MPC Beats and Light. Hey, Masada, what's going on with you, bro? Peace, much respect. We create music TV. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thanks for dropping by. Jersey Boy asks, how's the Hydra synth? It's dope. I like it. Definitely adds something different to this setup. I talked about it a little bit on my last stream, but I'll just briefly say, like, for me, the Hydra synth kind of has kind of like a modern FM synth vibe to me. Um, I've heard other people say it sound like different things to them, like different analog keyboards and whatnot. I don't really get a strong analog vibe from Hydra synth. I get a very strong like FM synth with like a interesting set of filters and other modulation capabilities. So it's a cool digital synthesizer. But yeah, I don't get a strong analog vibe from it at all. So if anybody asks that, for me, I get a very strong digital vibe, but it's an interesting digital vibe. And then when you start to add the other things like the polyphonic aftertouch and the ribbon controller, it's a cool synth. It's definitely a cool synth. And that's the reason I bought it, was because the polyphonic aftertouch, I wanted to get more familiar with how polyphonic aftertouch was working on different keyboards. So that was one of the ones that came up as one of the leaders in that domain. There's also the Osmos, which I kind of felt like could be cool too, but it felt a little bit more like a very niche application of polyphonic aftertouch. So this one felt like a more general synthesizer that also implemented polyphonic aftertouch. So that's why I got that one. So it's a cool synthesizer. We create Music TV says just did a review of the Maschine 3 update as well. I saw I need to check that video. I saw it. I saw the words you had on it. It looked like an interesting video. Interested to get your perspective on it. So I'm gonna go check that video out when I get a chance. To Papa, yo, props on the big move. Respect your integrity. Appreciate that, fam. I appreciate that. I definitely, that's why this channel's never been a Maschine shield channel. Yeah, that's just not how I roll. I would never shield any product. Like, I'm not gonna shield the MPC X either or anything else that I have in my studio. I'm gonna give it a try. If it works for me, then it works for me. And if I like it, then I'll talk about it. And I'll just show. To me, I like letting the music speak for itself. So like, when I'm doing beat videos with different pieces of gear, I think that says more than, me just saying, oh, it's dope because blah, 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 like, cool. But I try to move with integrity here all the time because, people are looking for real information. And, of course, there's a lot of channels out here that are, monetized through brand deals and whatnot. So I understand the dilemma of having to like really live up to the sponsorships and make sure that the sponsors are not scared off by what you'll say. But at the same time, I think we still have a responsibility to the community to make sure we're not creating a scenario where people don't really respect the opinion that we have because we like everything and we don't give any like real objective criticism. And also, like, for my channel, it's about going deep on topics too. Like, I like to show like a more mastery of a device. Like, I don't want to just show you the surface level. Like, if I got out here right now and start talking about the MPC X, like, I can't. For me, it wouldn't feel right because I haven't used it. I've used the one, but that does not make me an expert on the X. So if I start talking about it and having like a strong opinion on it, it would be wrong, and I think it wouldn't match the vibe of this channel. Like, next time you see me, you may see me making a beat on it, and that's how you get to know my thoughts, and then I'll give you some feedback and opinions off of that, like as I dig deeper into it and kind of fill it out and get the pros and cons out of it. So that's where I am. Am Exum, I think that's how you say it, AM Exum. Oh, AMXM. I'm a former MPC user and I love the machine. The tremendous hate it seems to be getting lately across YouTube kind of cracks me up, but hey, to each his own. Yeah, I talked about that earlier. Like, Machine is super capable. Like, to act like you can't do like full songs with it now, like as far as like beats are concerned, it takes work. Obviously, using anything takes work. But the reality is very capable. It's just that, obviously people want other features. People want more, competitive features for that matter. And then there's just certain things that will improve the quality of life of a person using a machine. So I think it's respectable that people have an opinion. And actually, I think it should inspire and I to see that there's so many people that have desires that are, about like really trying to maintain the platform and bring the platform to a level where they can stay comfortable and stay engaged on it. So, yeah. Butter says pivot. Yep, yep, yep. You know it. That's the reality of it. Definitely have to make that pivot. Not so good. Good luck with the new direction you're taking with your life and music. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. DDS was good with you, bro. People keep telling me to try MPC. I might give it a shot, bro. Like, I'm not. I've never been about just one machine. I just, I like making music and I like technology, so I'll try all of it. And I think they all have their pros and cons. I know you've been getting down with Maschine. I think you also use Logic too. So MPC's got its own vibe. I'm not saying like hop off of the machine and do that, but at the same time, you'll definitely find some interesting differences between the machine and I think creatively you may go in different directions. So that's what I like about different machines in general. Like, it just helps you to go in different directions and explore different opportunities just based on the built-in workflows that they provide you. So that's the key for me, is like having tried and used a lot of different devices has definitely expanded my just thought process and approach to making music. So I think it's valuable from that perspective. But I mean, yeah, to each his own at the end of the day. I think some people like need to keep it simple in order to stay focused. For me, I can relate to that as well, but I think I ultimately get a lot of inspiration through like resetting up equipment and like reorganizing studios and routing things in different ways. And, I'm always trying a new setup at the end of the day. And it gets me inspired and helps me to like really think creatively about the different possibilities that MIDI and audio have when you creatively route them. So, yes, sir. Just going through this. Yeah, Tariq Ali said he misses ES. I hear that. Let me see. Just going through the thread a little bit faster. Yeah, appreciate y'all that drop. I know that y'all these long streams are not for everybody. I get that. So I appreciate y'all that join for a little bit and drop off and catch it later. It's I like streams, but I understand that it's not the right format for everybody. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I definitely want to get some thoughts on from you guys about like the format on this channel. Let's see here. Boom. Okay, he says I'm down there with Marcus Elbow and a few others. Oh, interesting. Okay, partner Joe Flip Wilson moved down there. That's dope. That's dope. Raka says, I got the Osmos, definitely a whole new world and can be used with other synths and that support MPE and Poly Aftertouch. Dope, dope. I'm glad to hear that. I almost got that one, but yeah, I just ended up going the other direction, but I'm glad to hear that. Deliv, next time you out here, hit me up, bro. I'm out here. So yeah, if you come out here, we got to link up. Let me know. Let's see. MPC X is dope, but making music is just a hobby for me. I can't justify paying for MPC. I feel that. I can feel that. Use what you can afford until you can expand your means. And then if you're really still interested in something else, go for it. Don't hold yourself back in life, but definitely, definitely live within your means. That's definitely been a key for me, like living within your means. Don't live beyond your means. If you can live below your means and still be happy, that's even better, because you'll financially it's more rewarding if you can live like that. That's just a philosophy I have. I don't live above my means, I don't live beyond my means, and I try to live below or beneath my means, in any area I can, just so that I don't create a scenario where I'm dependent on too many things to be happy or have a happy lifestyle. That's just my personal philosophy. That may not work for you, but I do recommend, especially if you have financial issues, to learn to live beneath your means so that you can create more space for your yourself to be successful financially as well. William Ellington, Big Boy Toys. Yeah, I hear that, bro. Yes, sir. Boomer Hook 79 says, as long as you stay down with the MPC 4K. Of course, the 4K is not going anywhere. It's here. Got the 4K. I still have my SP 1200 EA Ski edition as well. I still have that, so they're not going anywhere. But yeah, like I said, I got the MPC X because I wanted redundancy. It's not because I'm moving off of the 4000 at all. Don Gordy, or Dehan Gordy, I don't know how to say your name. Did you like the MPC one, or is it not for you? No, the one is great, actually. The one is super dope. It's a for me, that's for travel. That's a portable device that I can take anywhere. One could say, oh, you could have got the live, but the one was fine. I don't need the speakers, the battery, or nothing like that. I just need, if I wanted to have a little session or go to a studio that didn't have an MPC, that's the one I'm gonna take. It's easy. I have a little small case that I can take it in, and it's super portable for me. So that solved the problem that I had. I wanted to have a very portable MPC, especially for traveling. Now that I'm in Houston, it's even more like if I got to come back to LA or something like that, having a one is perfect. So yeah, no, it's a great device. But I just wanted to have more redundancy for the MIDI setup that I have with the MPC 4000, hence the X. Let's see, they definitely need to improve the piano roll and audio editing. You're talking about Maschine 3, absolutely, absolutely. JP says, shout out to you, brother. Been rocking with you since the SoundCloud and FP days. Hardest F major beat on SoundCloud for me. What? 3, dang. So you a real one. That's a real beat. That's 3-wheel motion. My boy Clinton Wayne ended up using that beat for Regal Music. It's called She Got on Regal Music. So if you like that beat, if you ever want to go listen to it, look up Clinton Wayne, She Got. Yeah, that's 3-wheel motion. That's a real one right there. I appreciate that, man. That's a throwback. That you're talking about music I made 20 years ago, bro. That's amazing. Wow. That's crazy that you remembered that. Byron Brand says, what do you think about the Roland Verse Lab MV1? They took $150 off and it's cheap now. It always looked interesting. I never played with it. Some of you guys saw my channel. I had a little run in and did my little test on the MV8800. Enjoyed that. For the long term, it wasn't the right device for me, but it was interesting and fun to play with, and it definitely had a vibe. MV1 seems to be like this newer Roland approach to groove boxes. It's definitely not necessarily related to the MV8800, 8000 era of groove boxes, but it looks cool. I think it's definitely for a different audience in the end. I think they were kind of tapping into the whole DAWless and the songwriter community, not so much like the hardcore hip hop music producer, MIDI person or anything like that. It has some of that stuff, but it's just not as deep. So just from the specs, I haven't used it, but I'm sure, you know, if you sit down and commit yourself to doing music with it, you can figure it out, but it's gonna have limitations. It's just not made for traditional music production approach. That's all. Um, Tariq Ali says, so what's so interesting about this whole drum machine topic for me? As much as like we talk about drum machines and samplers on this channel, I don't I don't necessarily consider myself like a pure drum machine or like groovebox sampler guy. I like the workflow of creating MIDI sequences on these hardware devices. So that's why I use the MPC and the Maschine and anything else that can like sequence. But so I do sample and like, you know, if you've heard some of my other music stuff that I've done with like different artists and whatnot, I do sample and whatnot, chop up samples. So you guys, you know, those that have saw me on the old Native Instruments, and Maschine 1.5 stuff, you know, I know how to chop samples and get down like that too. I can do that too, but that's more of a keyboard producer in the end. And I think, you know, me being a guy that started with like the motif and like actually the first true workstation keyboard I had was a Triton actually, but I'm more of a keyboard producer, and I would say I have way more keyboards than I have drum machines, like way more keyboards and racks. Um, I'm a synth and keyboard guy at the end of the day, not solely a drum machine sampler guy. So I think for me, if I'm gonna go in any direction, it's gonna be more in the keyboard and synthesizer direction than it is the drum machine direction. I love drum machines, but like I said, they're not the end all be all for me. Like I use them more for the sequencing capabilities. Um, let's see. Dre says, what are your thoughts on the MPC Q37? I think it looks dope. That's definitely, if we just being honest, that's definitely a direction that I wish that Native would have gone with Maschine, just based on the functionality of the Maschine software, like, and how it deals with samples. I always thought that Maschine would have been a doper keyboard than a drum machine, and it would have had some great functionality. So when I saw the Key 37, I was like, ah, my God, they did exactly what I've been saying y'all should do here. So yeah, I think it's dope. I think that's what the market needed. It was missing like a keyboard sampler. Now, I think Akai didn't approach the 37 like a true, it's not approached like a true keyboard sampler. It's still like an MPC with keys, but I think just the fact is that that device can still do key groups and things of that nature. So, you know, I think it's a dope device in the end. So I've been seeing a lot of people get down with it. It looks very capable. I'm glad they did it. I think it elevates the possibilities in the groovebox domain, and really, you know, it's really more of a workstation keyboard at the end of the day. So I think it's dope. Rocky S says still the warp algorithm is okay compared to Ableton. I'm not sure what platform we're talking about there. Let's see. Don Gordy says I use both. Love the sounds of Maschine to use Studio One. Exploring had a battery for fill with the features it has, then it would be untouchable in a good way. Interesting. Snipe. It hits harder than what, sir? Let me know, because yeah, you had a lot to say about my blue MPC. So it hits harder than what? That's my boy Snipe Young. That's my bro right there. Much respect to Snipe Young. Much appreciated all the years of collaborations and amazing products that we've worked on together. But yeah, I got the X2, but I haven't put it through its paces yet, so I couldn't say which one hits harder or not. But yeah, I don't know about the 4000. The blue one hitting harder than the white one. I don't know about all that. That sound like hogwash to me. Let's see. Let's just get through the chat a little bit more. Robert Eames Jr. senior video nearly 15 years ago for me into Maschine. Appreciate you, brother. I've been thinking about MPC. We'll see. Hey, I hear that. Butter says he's still using the MPC Black. That's dope. That's dope. Are you what's your DAW? But are you a Logic or what do you use? JP says I did listen to it on Clinton Wayne. Dope. that's amazing, bro. That's amazing. Dre says I used to watch you and Booney Mayfield way back in the day. That's my dude, Booney. Yeah, I recently linked up with Booney like maybe a couple years back, actually pre-pandemic, because we kind of worked near each other. He was in Hollywood as well. So yeah, Booney is a legend on the YouTube music production space. So it was good to link up with him and you know, talk shop and talk faith and other things, man. Good brother right there. Good brother right there. Let's see. Ray said, what is the EA Ski SP1200 retail for? I forgot what he had it retail for. To be honest, I think it was like 4K or something like that. You know, what I paid for it, that's my business. But yeah, you know, when you yeah, I'm gonna just leave it there. I'm gonna leave it there. But yeah, I think it was like 4K. I think it was 4K. JP says, I remember when the MV came to Guitar Center, the things I didn't like about it in the store was the 1 in out through versus the 2 in 4 out. Yes. That I can't get with that at all. Yeah, that's I need that 2 in 4 out if I'm gonna use it as like a centerpiece in my studio. That if it's hooked up like a keyboard, if the MIDI setup is like in out through like a keyboard, then nah, we already, for a centerpiece hardware, that doesn't work for me at all. Let's see here. George says we have to remember the original MPC was known as MIDI production machine. Now it's called music production machine. Yeah. Yep. Jared's boy says, same here. I have the Jupiter X, the Mod X, and some old school modules. Yeah, I'm a keyboard dude. That's literally what I am. I'm a keyboard guy that uses drum machines. I'm not a drum machine guy that uses keyboards. So I think that may confuse people because like, yeah, we saw you on the machine and this and that. That's just what it is. I'm a keyboard guy that uses drum machines, not the other way around. So I'm keyboards first. That's why, you know, that's why I used to call myself F major. I don't call myself F major anymore. People still know me as F major. And if you call me F major, it's all good. But I didn't call myself, drum god or, you know, drummer squad, or I am about to mess up somebody's name or something, but I didn't call myself nothing drum anything, you know, called myself F major. So key guy that uses drum machines here. Let's see here. Rocket says, I used to work at NI. You might not remember me, but I had the exact same feedback on Maschine. MPC keys, def beat NI to it, and probably did it better, especially since NI killed absinthe, etc. Yeah, buddy. You say you used to work at NI. I don't know if you have Instagram or something like that, but hit me up. Hit me up. Robert Wynand, poor MPC 4000. He's gonna be sad. No, it's still here. It's not going anywhere. Jer's boy says I resample my own chord from progression on external sensing tweak on the onboard MPC synths. That's dope. Siege Monstrosity. Man, much appreciated. Much appreciated all the years of support. You've been a big part of the formula. You've definitely been a big part of the formula. So I appreciate that. Appreciate you. Okay, dope. I see you, buddy. I see you, buddy. Yeah. Jared's boy, Snipe kits on Maschine are so dope, and Rudiments is just a dope play series. Yeah, he did his thing on that. Snipe definitely did his thing on that. Dre asks, okay, now we getting into the nitty gritty for me. He says, Roland or Yamaha as far as workstations go. So one could say I'm biased because, you know, obviously my tenure in music production and music tech starts with Yamaha. But over time, I learned that Roland got it. Roland got it. I think Yamaha had its era. There was a time where like the Yamaha sounds were like untouchable. But I think Roland's keyboards are, the sound is more timeless. I can still like pick out, I can still go to Roland sound modules and keyboards and hear stuff and be like, yeah, I can still use that. I don't get the same vibe with Yamaha. Yamaha, like a lot of the core sound set, it sounds of a very specific era, and I'm not sure exactly what it is. My gut tells me that it's a combination of course, the samples, but I think also just the DSP. Like when you have like the effects and things, it has a certain tonality to it, and I think it sounds of a very specific era. And if you're going for that era, it works. But if you're not going for that, then it won't work regardless of how hard you try. It's gonna sound like a certain era of music. Roland, I think it sounds more timeless, especially for like hip hop music. I know, and I see in the comments here, like, I think that is a good way to look at it. Yamaha is kind of like R&B and neo soul, and I would say more so it is like very standard gospel. Like if you want to do like, you know, your average gospel band sound, it is that. It is the Yamaha motif kind of being the lead, and then everything else is kind of like aux keyboards. But Roland, I just feel like it might be because they had more of an emphasis on their capturing their synthesizers as well. You know, because their Roland has a long legacy of being a synth company, you know, the Jupiters and the Junos and all that stuff, right? So they can draw from all that as kind of like the main sound sets. So I think they really shine with having a broad array of like synth sounds, and a lot of those sounds still work. Yamaha, Yamaha has keyboards. They have bass guitars. They have a lot of like, they have a large array of different instruments, a lot of acoustic instruments. So I think they kind of like work better in that domain. But even with that being said, some of the Yamaha pianos and even their electric piano sounds and whatnot, they sound of a very specific tonality, and it kind of implies a certain era or a certain style of music. And I say it still works best with them, like the worship and gospel domain. And, you know, some people would say neo soul as well. I think neo soul, the neo soul thing, I think is kind of hard for me because I think with neo soul, Jamal Hartwell kind of like made that a thing. think my stream is still janky here for whatever reason. Yeah, I got to get these settings right here. Stream is still kind of janky. But I think Jamal Hartwell, that's my guy. Much love to Jamal Hartwell. I think he really made like the case for neo soul on the roads, like, or not on the roads, on the motif become like a really strong use case. Of course, people were using it. Like, I think Jamal Hartwell wasn't the first person to ever do it, but I think Jamal Hartwell really expanded the possibilities. He was one of the main guys that came out with new sound sets, and he did a lot of work, like just to like build a whole brand and library that supported the whole neo soul thing. And he was doing it on the motif at first, and then he expanded into Contact, and then he eventually made his own software platform for all his workstation style instruments. So Jamal definitely played a huge role in like solidifying that as a neo soul instrument. But, you know, thinking about where Jamal comes from, Jamal's gospel musicians. So I think at the end of the day, it really fits best in the gospel world, because even looking at Jamal, like Jamal started making neo soul sounds for the gospel players, for the worship leaders and, you know, MDs and whatnot. So yeah, I don't say that the motif is just like de facto neo soul, but I think the use case has been proven through people like him. Raka says, Roland got it for sure. First synth was the XP80, but I love Yamaha. Yeah, the Roland XP series, so dope, so dope. XP for the workstations, for the racks, the JVs, all of that stuff, JV 1080, 2080. My first rack mount synth was a 1080. But it says, so true, I missed the 2080. Yeah, 2080 is fire. 2080 is fire. Yeah. Yeah, JP said, because we know Vintage 74 been on Yamaha forever. I listened to Kim's album and instantly felt the motif. Dang. Okay. Yeah. No, that's true. That patch has been on there forever. And it's that kind of stuff that I think it works if it's in the right context. I just can't use it. Like, if I pull that up now, if I pull up the Vintage 74, it's not gonna do it for me. It doesn't help that I have a Real Roads as well. So like, now for me, like when I listen to a lot of that stuff, like I think when I got the motif, I didn't have as much exposure to a lot of acoustic instruments, not as many as I probably should have, like not hands-on. So my perspective was that the Yamaha Rhodes was like amazing. And then once I really sat and like played with the real Rhodes and started to really understand, like, yeah, no, that's not what the real Rhodes sound like. That's just, that works for like certain applications. And I think the sound designers at Yamaha did a great job of making something work for that time period. But yeah, a lot of that stuff now, yeah, it don't work for me. Not today. MPC Canvas. I use a combination of Small Sense, Mini Log XD, DeepMind 12, Mini Freak. The rest I sequence from the computer. Dope. Yes, sir. Just going through this chat a little bit faster. William Ellington says, how do you incorporate road sound into beats? It sounds alien to me in context of beats. It never fits. I know it's a me problem. I mean, Rhodes, how do you incorporate that? I mean, I'm not saying copy, but listen to some Q-Tip, listen to some Tribe Called Quest, listen to some Dilla. It's there, especially like, Fantastic Volume 2, like it's there. Like, there's a super dope video. I need to find this. A super dope video of my brother, the late Amp Fiddler, talking about how Jay Dilla made a track using a single Rhodes note and played all these different keys and chords and things. It's super dope. And when you hear the final outcome, like, and how Jay Dilla made all of that from like a single Rhodes note. No, the Rhodes is amazing. The Rhodes is amazing. It's an amazing sound to use for hip hop beats, not just for like R&B, gospel, neo soul. No, it's an amazing sound. I think you just gotta you kind of gotta expand just, you know, some of the music that you may be listening to as well. You know, hip hop is also about recontextualizing things. So listen to some classic Rhodes players, listen to Herbie Hancock music and kind of get some vibes from Herbie Hancock, from Stevie Wonder. Listen to these guys and listen to some of the beats and things that they have on their music, and see if you can recontextualize that and figure out a way to make it make sense for you. But the Rhodes definitely works in hip hop, no question about it. Let's see. Dilio, what's going on with you? He says he landed on the Integra 7, and that's plenty of rolling for me. Dope. I had an Integra 7 back like 2012, 2013. I liked it, but I didn't. And it just might have been the time frame that I got it. What I liked about it was like it had all the sounds. Had all the sounds, all the rolling sounds, plus the supernatural engine and all that stuff. I see Jared said Bob James. Listen to that too as well. Bob James for the Rhodes. That's another one. Definitely Bob James. But yeah, back to the Integra. Because I was such a heavy like Roland JV and XV, I have currently the XV 5050, but before that I had the XV 3080, and then I also had JVs. I think what I didn't like about the Integra at that time was the DSP. I think the effects engines, they're more modern and it sounded a little bit hyped for me. So when I would pull up like some of the classic patches, it bothered me. I think maybe today I would have a different perspective, especially now that I also have the XV5050 again. I probably could see using the Integra 7 differently today. But at that time, it was just like, oh, this ain't what I was looking for, because I bought it to be like more of like a compilation of all those sounds in a way, and it didn't feel like that. It felt like it sounded like you could hear some of the same tonalities in some of it, but it didn't hit the same. So that's why I got rid of it, because the effects were not it at that time. Let's see. Just go through here real quick. Boom. Yeah, JD 800 expansion of my Jupiter, and it has the XV 5080 in it. Dope. Eric Sherman's mid-90s productions had great use of Rhodes sound. Yes, for sure. That's another one. Eric Sherman is like an amazing example of like using Rhodes in hip hop beats. Battle Cat. Like listen to Battle Cat as well. Like listen to DJ Quick as well. Like I'm a West Coast dude, so Rhodes and hip hop go hand in hand, especially for like Southern California, West Coast beats. Ski, what's going on with you, bro? What's going on with you? Thank you so much, my bro, for linking me and getting me set up with the X. Much appreciated. Much love, my bro. Much love. I appreciate you, man. I'm excited to see what I can do with this X. You didn't scare me away from it, clearly. So, yeah, I'm excited, bro. Appreciate you, man. I definitely appreciate you. Good looking out. Yes, sir. Let's see. Tariq Ali says I tried posting the IG link of the video with Amp Fiddler talking about that one note Dilla sample. Yes, that Amp Fiddler video, super inspiring. And you can tell like how like hyped Amp Fiddler was about that, because he was like, his mind was blown. And Amp is a super dope. He was a super dope keyboard player. Like Amp was an amazing keyboard player. You know, yeah, Amp Parliament Funkadelic, like Amp played my roads at my apartment when I was living in an apartment. He's super dope. He's super dope. He was super dope. Rest in peace, Amp Fiddler. But yeah. Eric Sermon still has his motif. Yeah, it seemed like Eric Sermon is on that. Yeah. Let's see here. MPC Canvas, what are your thoughts on pedals like Chroma Console, H9 versus the effects modules, Air Flavor Pro? I really like the Mooger Fugger effects, or Mooger Fugger VSTs. What would be an equivalent hardware? Well, you know, the Mooger Fugger like VST, like they had actual pedals of those. Yeah, those actually exist as hardware. Now you may not be able to find them anymore because they stopped selling them a while ago, and they're probably super expensive now. But those were actual pedals. So yeah, that would be the equivalent of that, is like the actual pedals. Chroma Console H9, super dope, super dope. I don't know how those compare to like the Air Flavor stuff. I need to get deeper into that. I don't know if those actually compare. I don't like comparing things like that. I think Chroma Console probably is, I guess, closest to RC20 maybe. I think that's kind of the best way to look at it. So if Flavor is inspired by RC20, then you could say, yeah, it's probably like the equivalent to some regard, but it's the routing, it's the other things that kind of separate the VST world from the hardware world in the end. So I hate to make those comparisons, because once you start getting into like the hardware and like what the hardware actually allows you to do as far as signal flow is concerned, it's just a different vibe, different sound. Let's see here. Juan Hernandez says, do you ever make anything other than traditional West Coast music? Sure I do. Sure I do. But I don't think anyone comes to this channel, Altruwest, to hear me do house music or trap music or anything else like that. You know, it's a niche thing for this channel. I respect all music. I consider myself more of an electronic music producer in the end. So I like electronic music and different variations and experimenting with that. I think the West Coast thread for me will never die, because I'm from the West Coast. My mom is from the West. My dad is from the West. You know, born and raised. So it's gonna be there. I grew up on too much stuff. I grew up on Dr. Dre, and I grew up on Battle Cat and DJ Quick and even EA Ski. Like, you know, I remember being in 8th grade, getting that Friday soundtrack. But don't like that. Blast If I Have To. Like, we used to kill that. I had that on the tape. Yeah, I'm a West Coast cat. Yeah. So that's never gonna stop. But I love all music. I love music that's dope. That's all I care about. Is it dope? Like, trying to put like a region on it. I think the region is you know, that's in you. That's in you. You know, and I think it's okay to represent where you're from. Um, yeah, that's what how I see it. It's okay to represent where you're from, and I think um, it's like and I'm not offended by that question, but I think it's an interesting question because like like would you go to Papa Do's or something to say, man, do you guys do anything besides like Creole and Cajun food? I'm sure they can. I'm sure they have some things that are kind of beyond that, but it's at the same time, it's like, if you really want like Mexican food, you're not going to Papa Do's. You know what I'm saying? Um, that's just what it is. Like, I think it's okay for people to have things that they've honed in on and perfected. Like, I don't go to my favorite barbecue spot looking for, you know, pancakes, bacon, and eggs and whatnot. I just don't, because uh, the chef in there has been focusing on, getting their smoke correct for the meat, and the rubs and the sauces and all the things that are required to make the most authentic barbecue that they can. So, it's weird to then say, "Oh man, do y'all make Indian food too?" Because I really mess with Indian food. That's cool. I mess with Indian food too. I just know to go to the Indian food spot that I love when I want that. You know what I'm saying? So I think for me, I do look at I do look at music as a form of cuisine as well. Because music is taste in the end. So like we all kind of have things that we specialize in terms of like our cuisine. So okay, like yeah, you can make tacos, you can make pizza here, you can make burgers, you can make Indian food, you can make enchiladas, you can make soul food. I think what I do, just in the food context, is I make West Coast soul food. That's what I do. You know what I'm saying? That's what I love to do. That's what I specialize in, is West Coast soul food. Um, yeah, so that's what it is. Um, the Misfits Texas is huge. So I could see why you would feel like a fish out of water. Texas is huge, man. It's a lot. It's a lot. Um, yeah, it's a lot. Um, let's see here. Tariq Ali says tomorrow I'm going to McDonald's to see if they got tacos. I mean, they may have tacos. You may you may have a stomach ache after getting the tacos there, but good luck. um, but it says, you ever use a clapboard for your claps? No, I have I have a couple of different like wooden devices that I use for claps. Um, I don't have like I know what you're talking about. I don't have like a big clapboard. I have like a smaller board that I use for claps, which is cool. But yeah, no, I don't have. You're talking about more like the I guess the George Clinton style clapboard. I don't know. I don't have that. I don't have that. I need to holler at you about it actually. Yeah, I don't have that. Um, no, I know that was a joke, bro. um, Shadow World LLC says, that's why I rock with you. People have no idea what your background upbringing, but have this unrealistic expectation for you to do something else you don't resonate with. Um, and that's the thing. It's not even necessarily that I may not resonate with it. I think that's one way to look at it. Um, I think different people have different backgrounds and experiences that translate into what they do creatively, whether that's food, music, art, whatever else. So I think then you got to consider like there's things that yes resonate just based upon like their upbringings and their culture. And I think because music is culture, you have to just kind of like pay attention to the culture that you're getting from different musicians and not try to like homogenize or expect everybody to like try to assimilate or try to mimic different cultures. I think that was one of the key takeaways from like the Drake and Kendrick battle was like I think Kendrick basically won because he doubled down on culture and he doubled down on his specific culture and basically did what couldn't be done by his opponent, which was to like really slap with his own culture and like really win the battle with his culture. So for me, like it's okay. It's okay to like try different cultures and like you can love different cultures too. You can like love Mexican food. You can love, Italian food. You can love Indian food. I love a lot of that stuff. Like, I think my favorite, cuisine is probably outside of like American soul food is Jamaican food. I love Jamaican food, but I think for me, because music is culture, is also a way to preserve and also to communicate and share the culture. So on my channel, you get my culture. Like I said, my mom was born in LA. My dad was born in LA. My grandma now, she's from Atlanta. She came from Atlanta, but she came out to LA in the 40s. So LA West Coast is my culture. That is part of my culture. That doesn't die because I move somewhere else. I'm gonna have that culture regardless because that's literally my culture. My wife was born and raised in Los Angeles, and like we have a LA culture and we share that connection, and I share that through the channel as well, through the music and the sound. So I think the expectation that other people have to like adopt everybody else's culture in order to be cool or whatever it is, I think is strange. Now I understand from a perspective of like, hey, like you might have a opportunity, a project, a brief or something like that, where you may have to like study, do your homework and like learn to deal with somebody's culture and represent that in an authentic way. But just I think you have to kind of also understand my perspective as like as a product manager, right? Sound designer and product manager, right? So as a product manager who's been responsible for hundreds of sound products now, when I want to do a product that is representing like a very specific culture or cultural sound, like a regional sound or whatever, I try to reach out to people that are from that culture and that authentically can recreate that culture and are tapped in with that culture. I don't pick someone that's just says, yeah, I make beats too. Oh, you want some New Orleans stuff? Like I could do that too. Like I grew up listening to Cash Money and No Limit. And yeah, I know, like, no, like I will pick somebody to work with that was born and raised there and may have a lineage there and understands the culture on a deep level and understands the food and understands the streets and understands the different aspects of living in that environment. And I'll work with them and they'll usually give me some more insights on like what also is necessary to make that work as a product, right? So then that's how we bring authentic flavors to the market. Not by just appropriating culture, but actually dealing with people that are from the culture in the end. And that's always been the key to like what I do in my career. And that's why the products that I've done work, because it's always been about authenticity at the end of the day. So I feel like to me, if I work with specialists that authentically know how to, to authentically produce a sound. Like I work with them because that's what's going to give me the best results. Not the people that say they know a sound, but they've kind of just dabbled with it, or like, hey, I play with everything. Like, no, sir. No, sir. That's not my approach. And that's not how culture is preserved in the end. So you got to allow people to communicate their culture through various forms of art, music, film, you know, culinary arts. All of it is art at the end of the day, and all of it is part of culture. Yeah. Let's see here. Robert Ames Jr. says, from NOLA, man, dope. Music is universal. Your track's got gumbo funk in it. You're gonna thrive. That's dope. That's dope. Yeah. If you saw my my video talking about you know, me leaving Native Instruments, you may have seen like the last clip in that video was me and my boy N.O. Joe. Yeah, N.O. Joe, a legend. And N.O. Joe is dope because, you know, he's a good example of like someone that made music for West Coast artists, but also preserved his own culture in the sound. So it's not just like straight West Coast the whole way. It's like you get that, you if you know what you're listening for, you can hear other influences. You can hear the Southern influences in his sound. You know, there's actually a lot of dope producers. Like you know, I think if I'm not mistaken, Mr. Anderson, are you from Pennsylvania, right? Think, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, you from Pittsburgh. So, you know, that's another one. Butter, who did a lot of the West Side Connection stuff, definitely also brought like a real, like a multitude of influences in his music while producing West Side Connection. So, I mean, there's ways to do it. But I think at the end of the day, it's about loving music and also having respect for the music and the musicians and the culture that you're working with at the end of the day. I think that's what it boils down to. Let's see here. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Rob, Pittsburgh. Got you. Yep. Yeah. I mean, yeah, that you're another great example of that. Like, I think there are ways to preserve the culture and also bring new elements to other cultures and like expand. Because I really feel like you expanded what West Coast meant as well. And it's interesting how that worked because there's quite a few musicians that may have been born in other places that expanded what the West Coast sound is in the end. And I think that's what's really interesting about the West Coast is that they're like, people think when you say West Coast, you got to remember like West Coast is the black community on the West Coast is a product of the Great Migration. So a lot of us have Southern roots. Like that's just the reality of it. A lot of us have Southern roots. A lot of the people that came with my grandmother around my grandmother's time, they came from Atlanta and New Orleans and Arkansas and Texas. So that's what the West Coast is. Like people like a lot of people don't understand that part, and it's crazy. Like, but when you start talking to people and like that are from the West Coast, and they start talking about where their family's from, like, oh yeah, my family's from Mississippi, my family's from New Orleans, my family's from Arkansas, my family's from Texas. Like, that's our story. So when you start saying like all these different influences, and you start hearing like the southern elements and things that you may not understand also resonate with the West Coast, because we're from there. We're from there. We're our families are from there. Um, yeah, I mean, to talk about the West Coast, and then we talk about funk. It's like, is funk from the West Coast? No, funk is from the Midwest. Funk is from the is South and Midwest. I would say like the style of funk that became this whole like funky worm oriented West Coast sound. Of course, that's Midwest. Ohio, exactly. It's the Midwest. Um, so the West Coast is always like it's a gumbo of different influences, because it's a place where people migrated to. It's not like I wouldn't say like there's one specific sound that just originated there. I think it's the hybridization of sounds and influences, and just the interactions with these different cultures that create like what is the West Coast in the end. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, some of y'all are naming folks like, yeah, Sam Snead, um, Corrupt, Exhibit. Um, there's just a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot of hip hop artists that kind of changed the sound of West Coast, even though they didn't necessarily. They're not originally from the West Coast, and I think that's not the important part. I think it's the culture in the end, and understanding the culture. And I think if you spent time there and you understand the culture, or by proxy, because you have people there and you've dealt with those people and you respect those people and you have a relationship with those people, that's how that becomes part of the culture that you're also resonating with in a way. Let's see here. Solid Scheme was a funky production team. Yep. Think Slave when you think of funk, which is Ohio. Exactly. Of course. Slave, Ohio Players. You know, one of my favorite people, composers, just artists in general. One of my favorite of all time. Wrote one of my favorite, or my favorite song of all time, Mr. Walter Morrison, aka Junie Morrison. Ohio Players. Junie Morrison played on favorite song of all time, Not Just Knee Deep. Yeah, Ohio. I had the pleasure of meeting and talking to Junie Morrison years back before he passed. Amazing guy to talk to and just to know, and just a super honor to like have him know of who I am. Like, this just blows my mind. Like, the person that wrote like the riff for like one of my favorite songs of all time knew who I am. Like, I never, that just blows my mind. That blows my mind. But yeah, the influences come from everywhere. The influences come from everywhere in the end. And I think just the West Coast has a certain way of kind of refining those influences into something. Of course, yeah, Troutman Brothers, of course. Zap, of course. So it's not the same. Like I said, I understand that these influences come from all over because like the West Coast is a place that people migrate to. It is not necessarily a origin place for a lot of people. I mean, even though, like I said, I was born and raised in LA, my people migrated there. So, yeah, all of that stuff kind of creates the culture of what exists on the West Coast, and I think that's very special because, um, I have people that are my family, like cousins and things of that nature, that are from Atlanta, that are currently in Atlanta, and never left Atlanta. So their their interest in the way they hear things and things that resonate with them is a little bit different just because the exposure that they've had or just the refinement of culture that they've had in Atlanta versus the exposure that I've had living in LA for 40 plus years, right? Like I think that's a big difference. So um, I'm always interested to hear musicians that have a long lineage in a very specific region and to hear the sound that they have and like the influences they have because I think it's different. It just hits different. Especially if their parents were born there and their grandparents were born there and their great grandparents were born there and they haven't left, like, oh yeah, the music is gonna be different. I don't care what you say. It's gonna be different. What's going on, y'all? Yeah. Man, this time goes really fast when we're on these streams, and I'm trying to keep streams under 2 hours here. I do have a question for y'all. Maybe y'all can leave some comments on the page or in the chat. You can let me know. I'm thinking of potentially moving live stream to a separate channel and leaving this channel only for like recorded, edited video, just to keep it a little bit more watchable for people as well. But you guys let me know. Let me know if that makes sense for you, if you want me to continue to do the streams on this channel. I don't mind either way. I just want to keep the content consumable, and I know that hour and 43 minutes worth of live stream of us talking and shooting the breeze ain't necessarily it for everybody. I get that. I appreciate y'all that hang out and communicate. I think it's super dope to me, regardless of whether we do it on this channel or do it on another channel. I think it all works for me in the end. It's about you guys, and I'm trying to make it like where it makes sense for you. If you say this channel should be where the live streams are, we'll keep it here. But if you say I'd rather just watch, shorter videos, 5 to 15-minute videos, I'm okay with keeping the channel about that as well. But love to hear from you guys in the chat. Comment, let me know however you want to communicate that. But I love the community, so I'll do it regardless. I just want to make sure that it makes sense and it doesn't come across like as just a waste of people's time in the end. Sun Civil Media says my roots are from everywhere, South, North, Midwest. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Jelly Roll is a dope producer. I thought Jelly Roll was from Oklahoma. If we're talking about the same Jelly Roll, I thought he was from Oklahoma. I may be wrong, but I thought he was, because I believe he's related to the Gap Band somehow. I thought he was from Oklahoma. Another dope producer that has a super West Coast sound in the end, but it's not necessarily born in Los Angeles or on the West Coast. I believe his folks are from Oklahoma. And of course, like the Gap Band is super funky. Like, you kidding me? Like Gap Band, one of the funkiest bands out there, like period. So yeah, yeah. Uh, A Major Key says how you play with the Yamaha montage. Yeah, I have. I think we talked about that earlier, kind of like Yamaha versus Roland. So we had a little bit of discussion about that. But yeah, I think it's cool. I think for me, like, because I've had the motif for such a long time, a lot of the core sounds from the montage still sound very motifish for me. So it is hard for me to use something like a montage today for myself, but I see how like they've expanded the synth engine and it does a lot of other things. So I think my bias towards the montage is that it still sounds like a motif at the core, and that's why I didn't get one, because I think a lot of the core sounds still are not different enough for me in the end. Um, MXM says, you ever own the Korg M3? That's one of my never get rid of pieces. Yeah, I like Korg stuff. Korg stuff is super dope. Korg stuff is super dope. I love Korg stuff. I still use the M1 sound set all the time. Like I love the M1 sounds. Like that resonates with me. I know M1, a lot of records like Dog Food, from the Dog Pound, M1, Dr. Dre used M1. Yeah, I love the M1. So yeah, that's one of my favorite. Korg is one of my favorite sound companies, period. Uh, Shadow World says my recommendation for what it's worth is you keep here to continue building this dope channel you've already established. Dope, dope, dope. Appreciate that. Man, appreciate your knowledge. These lives are dope. No wasted time here. It's all building. It definitely helps. Dope. Glad to hear that. Glad to hear that. Thank you. Thank you. JP says Gap Band is the band for synth funk. Yeah, of course. The Gap Band, like, yeah. Come on. Gap Band is it. Um, DJ Mixer says, "Do you remember the ASRX?" I for sure do. Like my roommate in college, second year of college, bought one of those, and yeah, that was one of the first drum machines I got to mess with. Actually, super dope, super dope. P Town CA the Bay says, yeah, yeah. If you talking about that Jelly Roll, Jelly Roll's from Oklahoma. His people are from Oklahoma, I believe. I believe he was born in Oklahoma as well, if I'm not mistaken. Um, a Major Key says I still want the Core Chronos or the new Roland Phantom. To be honest, yeah, I think the Chronos seems to be like the best overall workstation keyboard out there right now. That's just my opinion, just from what I've heard and what I've seen. Um, Producer that I know that lives by like the Korg, like especially the Chronos and that sort of stuff. Terrace Martin. Um, I don't know if you guys. I hope you guys are familiar with Terrace Martin. He's like um, one of this generation's dopest jazz musician producers. Definitely the mastermind behind a lot of the sound of To Pimp a Butterfly by Kendrick Lamar. Um, Terrace's family by proxy. Um, he is family to some very close family friends of mine that I grew up with. So yeah, Terrace is a big Korg Chronos user, like all day. Like he knocks stuff out all day with that joint, and it sounds great. And based on what I hear him do today with the Korg versus what he was doing with the motif, I would say that the Korg is sounding a lot more timeless in a way. Yeah. So he's a great example of like Korg in the modern era, like all the stuff he's doing with like the things he's doing with Knife Wonder, like the dinner party stuff and all of that stuff. Terrace Martin, yeah, Terrace Martin is super dope, super dope. Let's see here. Snipe said the MS-2000, another dope Korg synthesizer. I used to have that back in like 2004, 2005, before I got the studio electronic stuff. That's what I was using for basses and leads, was the MS-2000. Let's see here. JP says, I remember you had the Prophet 08, but it seemed like it didn't last long for you. Oh, you bring up an interesting thing with that one. I think that particular synth, I may have jumped the gun as far as getting rid of it. I think at that time it didn't fully resonate with what I was looking for in a analog poly synth. Now, is it a dope synth? It absolutely is a dope synth. And later on, I ended up getting the MPC X4, which is kind of like a reduced version of the Prophet 08. Like, there are some differences, but it's kind of like in the same family. It's in the same domain of sound in the end, I think. It's very much, you could say that the MPC X4 is like a 4-voice 08. I think I just got rid of it too early, if I'm being honest. I got that in like 08. Yeah, I think I got it in 08. And at that time, it was kind of a transitional time for me. I was trying to figure out like how I wanted my setup. And I was using that, but then I was also playing with like Native Instruments, synthesizers, like trying to figure out like if I can use Core and other things to act as a sound module on my computer. So I had the Core system, and then I started using Pro 53. And that's where I kind of made a decision, like based on what I was getting out of Pro 53. I said, well, I'm kind of getting, at that time, being naive, I said, oh, I'm kind of getting what I need out of Pro 53. So I don't need the Prophet 08 anymore. So I got rid of it. I didn't hate, like I said, I didn't hate the Prophet 08. It was just, that's where I was at that time. I'm gonna say something controversial, but to a degree, I'm not saying that this is 100% the truth, but to a degree, I have some degree of distrust with full reliance on software instruments these days. You may say, well, what do you mean? You work in Native Instruments. They do software instruments, of course. But one of the challenges that I've seen with software instruments is just like long-term support. And I think that's the thing that scares me at times when we start talking about software. Is like the fact that a software title that you may love and may have used and may have gotten a workflow and a sound from could potentially no longer be supported because, you know, a company goes bankrupt, or in even some cases, it can be no longer supported because the company had a falling out with a developer and now they don't own it. This kind of stuff happens. And I think when we start talking about like a Pro 53 or something like that, yeah, I couldn't, long term it didn't work because like once I moved to a different system and then there was no longer Pro 53 available in the market, kind of felt burnt a little bit, kind of felt burnt. Um, Pro 53 came back. It's basically polysynth in Maschine, but there was like a long period where it just didn't exist. And like, I mean, even if you look at it from that perspective, it's it's in Maschine. It's not like a standalone VST anymore. So that kind of stuff always irritated me about software instruments. It really irritated me. So I think I had a few experiences like that, and that's when I started going back to my hardware. That's when I started going back to like making sure I had my stuff together as well. Not to say I don't use software. I use plenty of software. I use software all the time, but I just don't look at software today. I don't look at it as permanent. I look at it as kind of transitional. And it only will be permanent if you stay on the same computer system for a long period of time. If you stay on a computer system for, for good, or if you keep an old system around that can support the software that you're running, then it could be more permanent. But yeah, it doesn't always work like that. Sometimes you have to move forward, and sometimes you can't keep the old system around, and then therefore you lose access to the old sounds and the old synthesizers and samplers and other things you used to have access to. I still have my Mac Pro here, and I run everything off my Mac Studio. Not everyone can stay set up like that. I have my, like, both of my monitors and screens are hooked up still to both computers. So if I need to like pull up something really quickly, I got a switch. I can just go to the other computer and pull up stuff. Like, one of the issues I have right now is like I have a whole bunch of sessions in Battery 3. Battery 3 can't install on my Mac Studio. So the only way I can go to those old sessions that have Battery 3 is to go to the old computer that runs a operating system compatible with Battery 3. That's just one example of like how transitional and non-permanent a software instrument can be. And that's why like I ended up getting the Dave Smith X4 after going some time with using Pro 53, because things happened. I no longer had access to it, and then those sounds were no longer there. So I know that was kind of like a long roundabout way of talking about that, but I think that was just an important note that I want to share, because I think it's an important strategy that you guys have to have when you're dealing with software sounds, is to also make sure that you have a way to recall things that are kind of like obsolete. Somebody said I can pull, Jersey Boy says I can pull Battery 3 sounds into Battery 4. Sure. But what I'm talking about is sessions, right? So yeah, I have my sound sets on a drive. I have my kits on my Battery 3 kits are on a drive, and they're on another drive, and they're on another drive. But just to transfer that alone, like, it's a lot of work to do. And if we're talking about a session where I may have done some modifications to specific sounds in that session, and I didn't necessarily save the kit again as a new version with the tweaks and the parameters, to pull it out or use the original kit, it's not going to help. I would have to basically either bounce all the sounds with the parameters intact, or what I do now is I go to the old system and I pull up the session on the old system. Yes, I can use my sounds on the new system. I can like open the kits and battery, but yeah, anything I did in the session is, it's locked into that session until I bounce it and commit it to audio. So that's how I have to work, because there's just a lack of permanence with some of the software, and you can easily get into a situation where things no longer work on a new computer if you upgrade. It's happened to me multiple times. Let's see. The Misfits 74 says, I think I'm going to grab the M4 Pro Mac Mini soon. No, that sounds great. That sounds great. I would wait just a little bit just to make sure all the compatibility with all this. If you use software, make sure that all the software that you use is compatible with the M4 before you get the M4. Because what you don't want is like, yeah, you got the latest, but then you're waiting for a long time for all the software companies to get their systems compatible with your new M4. Just make sure, like, do your due diligence and make sure everything is supported before you move over. That's my recommendation. I think power-wise, it's a no-brainer. Like M4, you can get an M4 for super cheap now. Like I said in the other video, that part is worth it. But what's not worth it is to have a system that's not compatible with any of the software that you want to use. That's a non-starter. That will be a waste of your money and a waste of your time. So just make sure that it's all compatible. Sun Civil Media says, when I try to recall some of my old music, Native will say it can't find those complete files. The VST is not compatible. Yeah. If you upgraded your system, right? Like that's the thing. So that's why I have my old system, so I can recall those old beats. And I've had to do it a few times. Like, it's just because it's old doesn't mean it's not something that you may need to use. Like, there's been situations where I need to use it, and this old computer is the only way to do it. Let's see. What is that? Date Nob, or I don't know how to say your name. You say how are the converters? I don't know, man. You gotta ask EA Ski how the converters are. Ask EA Ski how the converters are on the MPC. I don't know. Yeah. Shout out to EA Ski for getting me set up with this X, by the way. I'm gonna take a couple more questions and then we're gonna call it. We're just over two hours, and I want to keep these kind of within that range. Let's see. Yep, happened to me with the Focusrite Sapphire 14, not supported on latest Mac OS. Terrible. Max Mini is enough and faster than the M1, but I would wait. Okay, yep. That's how it is with Arcade. Once you stop the subscription, projects don't load, right? I don't know about how Arcade is handling that, but I think. Oh, okay. I appreciate it. Thank you for clarifying. It's Blunt here. I got it now. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. I was like, what the heck is that name? Okay, nah, got it. No, I don't know if Arcade's working like that. I thought some of these things had a mechanism where you could still load up the session, but you could make edits or changes to the state once you don't have the subscription. I don't know if that's how Arcade works. I don't use Arcade. But yeah, I think so, in some cases they're doing a little bit more like savvy handling of that subscription plugins. That's a different stream. I won't get into that right now. I'm not a fan of subscription plugins. Make mine perpetual. I don't like subscription much of anything. I had stayed away from Pro Tools for a while once they got subscription, and Now that they're back with the perpetual, like I have the latest Pro Tools, but I didn't have the latest Pro Tools for quite some time because they were like, yeah, well, you subscribe for it. And no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Not for that kind of stuff. I think subscription makes sense in certain scenarios, but I don't see a scenario where I would want to subscribe to instruments. I think that one doesn't make sense for me. Okay, yeah. JP says, I want to see some content on the ATC1 and SC1. I know they're not heavily known as Moog. You were one of the first that hit me to the ATC1. I called SE years ago and they talked to me at length. Studio Electronics, legendary. They're dope, super dope. I found out about them through a buddy of mine that was a sound designer and consultant at Yamaha as well. And once he brought the ATC1 over to my, I was in the dorms. I was in college at that time, and he brought it over, and yeah, changed my life. Changed my life because once I heard that, and I heard, I was like, oh, this is where that sound came from that record, and this is where that sound came from. And then yeah, I learned about that in the SC1 and changed my life. And I know, I'm not, I'm in my 40s, so I didn't grow up playing with like SP 1200s and MPC 3000s, and I wasn't of age when the Chronic and Dog Food and a lot of West Coast classics were being created. I was a teenager when that was happening, so I didn't know. But once I heard it, I was like, oh, that's that sound from that record. Like my knowledge of like records is pretty good. So like when I listened to that stuff, I was like, oh, I immediately knew. And yeah, I stuck with SE. Like I have the SE1X and the ATC1. Love them. I don't even think the Moog, some of the Moog stuff is great. I shouldn't say some of it. A lot of the Moog stuff is great, but I think for some of the bass sounds that I'm looking for, oh man, Studio Electronics is still like it, even over some of the Moog stuff for me personally. Yeah, just I think the difference in filters, like yes, the SC1 also has like the Oberheim filter and the Moog style filter. So it's just different. It's just different. Yeah, definitely my favorite bass and lead synths. I have multiple analog synths in here. Like I said, the Mo Fo X4, and then I have the Novation Summit as well. All great sounds, different things that they're great at. But for the basses and leads, Studio Electronics still, yeah, it's hard to compete. Like there's some software that I use that I love and can do some of that stuff. And once you learn synthesis, you can really like do a lot of those things if you pick the right software synthesizer. But there's just a certain feel and sound that the Studio Electronics have that I can't get from the software still. I don't care. Like it's just sometimes the software is good enough to like kind of like evoke that feeling, but if I really want to hear that sound for real, yeah, I got to go with the hardware. All right, my people, it's about that time. Thank you all for joining. Thank you all that have been leaving comments, that have been communicating in the chat room. I really appreciate y'all. It's been fun as always. More of these to come. I appreciate y'all. If you haven't already done so, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you're not subscribed to the channel, more of these to come, definitely. Yeah, I thank you guys. We're going to continue this energy and keep the momentum. And yeah, if you have any comments or questions or things you want to talk about in the next stream, leave a comment on the page. Yeah, definitely would love to just continue the conversation. And I appreciate y'all. Until next time, peace and God bless y'all.